everybody, it's Catherine from Jayne Catherine on Books, and I'm here with a book haul. I'm very excited. There's not that many books in here, but these are ones, well, I think they're nearly all author authors for me, so I've been excited for them coming out. So without further ado, let's get to Ma and Pa Larkin, The Darling Buds of May. So this, I just want to show you all the spines together, which look lovely. These sets, what this, 2, 3, 4, these lot, 5. David bought me for Valentine's Day, and I had no idea that these weren't on my radar, I do have to say. But these are the new editions that Penguin Random House have brought out in celebration of 60 years of The Darling Buds of May. So the Larkin series by H.E. Bates. I remember watching this on the television, a long time ago, because David Jason was in it, and now he's 80,
yeah, something
like 80, and a very young Catherine Zeta-Jones was in it as, trying to think, and then she was the eldest daughter, and then we've got Pam Ferris. I'm looking at David, his lip reading to me, I couldn't remember her name, Pam Ferris. So these are all very renowned actors, and yeah, they were quite young in this. Well, I think David Jason was probably about 40, so it's at least 40 years ago. Crikey, time flies. And I really enjoyed the series. If you're not aware of it, the first one is The Darling Buds of May, and this is what the TV series was called. I loved it. It was very much quintessential of the time. So it was based around the 1950s, not long after the Second World War, and this was very much life on the farm. A really good feel. They got 7 children. Ma used to be doing loads and loads of cooking and baking, and I think Pa Larkin was a bit of an Arthur Daly, as we call him. He got his fingers in quite a lot of pies, and they made out they didn't earn any money, and the young taxman turns up and comes to find out why they haven't done their tax return, and ends up marrying the eldest daughter. But they've got so much money. They've got a Rolls Royce. He's offered to buy out the Lord of the Manor, because he can't manage to upkeep the castle or whatever. He has to live in the lodge where the servants used to live. And Pa Larkin's wants to buy him out. And I think he does eventually. So they've got loads of money coming in, but not a penny is declared, shall we say. So yeah. Beautiful series if you can still get hold of it. So The Darling Buds of May, A Breath of French Air, which in the 50s, you know, to go abroad was a big thing. When the green woods laugh. A Little of What You Fancy, and Oh to Be in England. Aren't those covers stunning? They're really lovely covers. They are by Becky Betsworth. So beckybetsworth.co.uk has done those covers, and they're the sort of covers I like on books from that age. Lovely. I've already read The Darling Buds of May, and I'm reading Breath of Fresh Air as we speak. So they're lovely, and they're just so beautiful. Covers are lovely just to go on your shelves. I'll put them up there. Then next, I've been talking about this one, Miss Benson's Beetle by one of my faves, Rachel Joyce. You've been here a while, you all know that I love Rachel Joyce, and she's an author for me, and this has been on my list to get, and David got it me as a little treat because I was a bit fed up. Last week, getting a bit fed up with this lockdown malarkey, and So I got him some really old, couple of old books. We didn't know we were getting something for each other. And David got this, which I was thrilled to bits to get. And then I bought him a couple of really old books that he'll like from eBay. Now he's got one already, but the other, I think it's come today. It's in quarantine at the minute, so I can give it him tomorrow. Anyway, Miss Benson's Beetle. So Miss Benson has, and I've made a start with this. I've not read too many pages, page 36. And she was introduced in entomology from her father when she was a young girl in the war. The war was going on, and he used to say, come into my study. Brothers were away at war, fighting in the war, and he used to show her all sorts of magical things in books. And he used to introduce her to a particular book where there were all sorts of weird and wonderful animals and insects in there that have never been proved they exist, but people have had sighting of. And ever since then, she's had this love of beetles. And always from childhood wanted to go and find this special beetle that's gold. It's a gold beetle, and it's got like an iridescent, which you probably can see how they've tried to replicate that on the cover. And this iridescence about it. She is in her 40s by this time. She's a school teacher. She's still unmarried, and suddenly decides that she's going to, at last, throw caution to the wind and go on this sabbatical and go on this great adventure to go and find this beetle. Now, I'm trying to think where it's supposed to be, this beetle. It's the other side of the world. New Caledonia, which is an island, I think. I don't know if it's a real island. I presume it is. David's nodding. And is it near New Zealand? No?
Out that way.
Out that way.
Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, it's in the Southern Hemisphere. See, I knew it was Southern Hemisphere for me to mention New Zealand. My geography is not my best subject, even though I took O-level. She advertises for a helper to go with her because she does need an assistant, and I've not met this assistant yet, but there's supposed to be a very unlikely pairing, so I'm expecting high things from this. High things, great things, should I say. I just love Rachel Joyce's writing. I loved Harold Fry. She does characters. She's got this knack of bringing characters to life, to real life. But also she writes in a very thought-provoking way. There's always something thought-provoking about the plot lines. I've got a feeling this is going to be as good as Harold Fry. Harold Fry is still my all-time favourite of Rachel Joyce's. I don't know, you get a feeling, don't you? Get a feeling in your water when you first start reading something. And can't wait. So next, all the pretty covers today. Latest one by Laura Carlin. Requiem for the Knave. Now, I think it's probably a couple of years ago that I read Laura Carlin's debut, which is over on my shelf there, The Wicked Cometh. And I think I've shown it on many occasions because it's got a most beautiful cover, naked hardcover. Now, this one, I don't think it's anything special underneath, it's not. So it's got a beautiful cover, but it's the jacket only. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was a 5-star read for me. So this was highly anticipated, and I've already read it, so I shall give you a wrap up when I get to my next recent reads. And different time period altogether. So The Wicked Cometh was set in Victorian times. This is Middle Ages. 1367 in England, 1367, and completely different, a completely different time, different setting. And the one thing I will tell you about it is that I think the way that she has changed the tone of her writing to match the historic period is really great. It's phenomenal. You definitely feel as if you're in the Middle Ages, the same as you felt with the Wicked Cometh that you were in Elizabethan times. So I'm not going to tell you any more than that, but winner winner chicken dinner. What I mean is I'm not going to tell you any more about what I think of it. Now we have a young lad in the 1367 called Alwyn of Whitaker, and back in those days they didn't used to travel very far, they didn't used to leave where they were brought up. Many people sort of were born and died in the same little village as they'd always been in, and it was very unusual to leave there unless you were going on some sort of a pilgrimage. And Alwyn goes on a pilgrimage, which soon becomes apparent as you first start reading the book. He goes on this pilgrimage at the request of his mother, and it's his journey along the way. Essentially, it's the journey along the way, the people that he meets, good and bad. And in a way, it's a bit of a coming of age story, because although he's about 18, I think, when he goes on this pilgrimage, he's not very worldly. He's quite a naive lad, really. He's just lived on the farm, worked hard on the farm with his grandfather and his mother, and never been outside of his village. And so it's quite an eye-opener, I think, for him. Things that go on around him and how other people behave. He's not used to seeing it. He's just used to a few people in his local area. So it's a bit of a coming-of-age story, even though it is set in the Middle Ages. I think it has some very important topics in here. I think they're looking at gender and looking at a sense of self, a sense of purpose, a sense of loving you as who you are, and wanting others to love you as you are, really, not pretending to be anybody else. So I do feel that is very well covered in here. It's very forward thinking, I think, to have the whole perspective of issues regarding gender in a historical piece that's in the Middle Ages. Does that yes, that sort of makes sense, I think. So I think it makes for a very interesting read. It's not a fast burning book. It's quite slow paced, and I think you have to get used to that. It's a lot slower paced, I feel, than The Wicked Cometh. Would you say so, David? Slower, yeah. Far more slower paced, and I think that The Wicked Cometh, the plot, there's more things happening in the plot, I think, than in this one. But this is very good. It gives you a very good sense of the time and place, how women were treated in those days, how it was very unusual for a woman to be strong-minded. There's a character in here who is on this pilgrimage, and she's very forthright and very independent, and that doesn't go down well with the general society. They also touch on witch hunting, which I find really fascinating in a historical book. So highly recommend it, but I will do a full wrap up on it. So yeah, Requiem for a Knave, Laura Carlin. And another auto by another Laura Purcell. Been waiting for this one, The Shape of Darkness, and beautiful cover. Look at the silhouettes on there. And then this is gorgeous. I have read this as well. So it says a lot when I get my auto by authors in. I have to read them pretty quickly. So who do we have here? Agnes, I couldn't think of a name then. Set in England, set in the Victorian era. It's set in Bath, in the South. Bath, as some people call it, but Yorkshire accent is Bath. We call it Bath. It is a beautiful city. We actually have been there. We did go there on, I always wanted to go on the Orient Express or the English version, the Northern Belle. And went on that. Was a treat for my 50th birthday from my mum and dad and my sister. And David and I went on that. It was fabulous when you get all dressed up and everything. I know I digress. And we went to Bath. We'd not been to Bath before. It is a beautiful city and steeped in history. You know, there's a lot to see when you get there. This is, I would say, more plot. I think this is more plot based than character based. Agnes, and this is a mystery, a really interesting mystery, and I think this would be a good one for you to choose for March Mystery Madness, because it's coming up soon, guys. You need to be looking out and getting your choices ready. Agnes is a silhouette artist. She does come from quite a well-to-do family, but since her father has passed away, they've sort of gone further down the pecking order, as it were, because they're becoming less and less wealthy, to such a point that the only income that's coming into this house is from Agnes, and she is a silhouette artist. Well-to-do people back in Victorian times thought that it was very what's the word, you like keeping up with the Joneses, as it were. If you had silhouette portraits of all your family, it was the thing to do in those circles, and she was one of the best of you know, of the area. But all sorts of strange things start happening, and she then meets a clairvoyant who is a young girl. She's not very old. I think she's only about 12, this young girl, Pearl, and she's a clairvoyant, she's a medium. And very much back in those days, it was very frowned upon, very mystical, magical, very much so that, you know, they'd have them hung and that's the end of them if they had their way, some people. And she goes to this girl for help. She needs some help because there's something strange going on. Every time anybody comes to her to have a silhouette portrait done, they end up dead. They've been done in. So we don't know who's done them in, really, but yeah, they end up dead. And it's not good for business, that, is it? Can you imagine? Oh, you know, well, I'm not going to go and have my silhouette done by Agnes because I'll end up dead. And so she needs to really clear her name, because there's obviously somebody out there that wants to do her harm or her family harm, because otherwise, why are they killing off all her clients? So she goes for the help of this lovely girl, young Pearl, and it's quite heartwarming and sad at the same time, the story, really, because poor Pearl is being, you know, she's being used, really. She's a vulnerable person. She's a young girl, not educated, never let out of the house, and she's been taken advantage of really by her family, who book all these seances to make money. And it's, you know, it really highlights some of the plights that went on with the poorer echelons of society back in Victorian times. And I think that's probably all I'll say about Pearl's story. But you sort of get the two stories. You get what's happening with Agnes and all these murders, and then you get Pearl's side of things and what's happening with Pearl. She's not all that healthy, Pearl isn't. She's a poor little scraggly thing that doesn't eat very well. And obviously she's quite frightened, I think. Must be strange to be having all these psychic experiences as a 12-year-old. Very well done. What do we expect? We don't expect anything less from Laura Purcell. Another fantastic book by her, and yeah, it's a bit of a gothic feel to it, I think, but yeah, don't delay really. Get to read this as soon as you can, and as I say, it's perfect for March Mystery Madness because of all the murders and the killings, and there's been a murder or a few. I haven't had a chance to say that for ages. I missed it. That's it then, guys. I know there's not that many books, but goodness me, what a choice. There's 3 auto-buy authors for me, so 3 of my faves, and then that lovely little selection from H.E. Bates. Go and have a look to see if you can still get hold of some of the episodes of Darling Buds of May. Might be on YouTube or something like that. I fancy watching it all over again now. I was going to say it might even be out on DVD or something like that. You might be able to get hold of it if not. So thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, March Mystery Madness is on the horizon, so there'll be some videos coming up about what I'm going to be reading for that, and also my usual recommendations throughout the month of March. And also, what do we have? Nelson's recommendations. So we usually have some animal mysteries in there as well. So thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next video. Take care out there. Bye for now.